share out from your table, okay? Just a couple of tables that might have had some really good insights around this, about self-regulation, positive perspective, and how that relates to wellness or to managing your money. How do those things relate? Yes, ma'am.
We were talking about at our table how everyone operates differently, and people say, we were talking about the triangle where it says, like, what was it, time, friends, and getting, sleep. Yeah, and you had to pick one, but sometimes that's not always impossible, and it's just about finding the balance that works for you and for everyone that's different.
It's a very good point.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Another table? One more? Okay. Thank you.
Alright, we also talked about how like between the self-regulation, positive perspective, and like wellness, it's not just understanding that like, oh, I'm gonna be perfect and go to bed and I get 8 hours of sleep and I'm not gonna pull in all-nighters and I'm gonna do all my assignments 2 weeks ahead of time and stuff like that. It's more just realizing that like you also need to take accountability. Like I went and partied on the weekend and I have a paper due tomorrow. I'm gonna have to pull an all-nighter, but I'm gonna have to own up to that. I can't be grumpy and like lashing out at people and being just like overall really angry that I had to do this and for me, like I made the decision not to. So just being also accountable of yourself, and that's what's gonna keep you well as not like making excuses for your poor habits if they keep you out.
That is a very good point. Thank you. Okay, so now I believe that we will talk about academic integrity later. Is that correct, when Jody comes tomorrow? Is that
Yeah, so we'll talk about academic integrity, having the director of the Writing Center come tomorrow and speak to you guys for a brief time, and so we'll cover that then. I talked with Jennifer Wolf, the executive assistant for Vicki, who was in here earlier today, about the academic integrity process, so I've got some information to share with you guys, but we'll do that tomorrow. And for now, we're going to go into tracking and evaluation processes, and this is our last module for today, so can I get some claps? It is 3:35, so hooray. Alright, so this is new. It is revamped. APU Cares is the Cougar Alert, Refer, and Engage system. And it's accessible by faculty and staff to refer students who need personal or academic assistance. So it really covers, we're talking about the word holistic and wellness. It covers all of that. If it's you or a staff member or a faculty member just noticing someone is missing class, alert them. Like Cougar Cares. APU Cares, not Cougar Cares. Yeah.
Okay, so one of the reasons that this is changing, just to give you context, is when you think of early alert, that's what the faculty would send just a referral to our office in advising and retention. And their mindset was to kind of do that in the first 3 weeks of the semester. And then the referrals would just sort of dwindle down to not much later on in the semester. But the strange thing is that students still need additional support and assistance as the semester progresses. So the term early alert just didn't seem to be as appropriate anymore. And so changing that to something that talks about the fact that we want to refer students and engage them with the support that they need across the whole semester is what's behind that. And just so that you guys know the other piece of this, Student Life has a care team. And that is a group of people from different offices on campus that meet to discuss situations, okay? And some of those situations may be related to students who have some special things going on. So there's just a small group of people that meet with Student Life. Our Associate Dean of Students, Shino Simons, is there. Bill Fiala, the head of the Counseling Center, is there. So if they've received, for instance, a crisis notification, a referral from a faculty or staff member that says, I believe this student is in trouble, then that group will figure out, what levels of So this APU care system and the care team will be working very closely to make sure that when there are academic needs, the Office of Academic Advising and Retention is supporting those. And that when we get academic referrals, if students also seem to have some other things going on, we can get them immediately connected with the care team so that those two can work in tandem and be a better able to support students than functioning separately. So I wanted you to have the context for that, and now I will sit.
All right, so, like it says up here, if one of your mentees is referred, if we deem it appropriate, we will communicate with you about providing additional support. We may not provide all the details, but yeah, so just for your information. And then I'm just gonna show you what this looks like. So this is what a staff or faculty member would see, and you know, are they undergrad, are they graduate, what's the reason for referral? If it's something that isn't listed, they can put it down there, and then, you know, comments or concerns, and this is what they submit. So then we can contact the student, we can have a further discussion with the faculty and staff person if needed. And yeah. So it's a really good system. I love that it's been revamped. Alrighty, so moving forward. So this is how you're gonna track all of your meetings with your students, and it is also how you're going to let us know how they're doing, what you're picking up in conversations with them. If there's things come up, you're going to have 24 freshmen, there's 1,200 freshmen, first-year students here. There's going to be some of them that have issues transitioning or other issues, or things will happen in the middle of the semester, and you may be the person that they confide in first. And so on our feedback forms, there's a couple of things to talk about. I'm going to click on this. I'll show you where they are next. So it is essential that you complete this form shortly after every meeting with a student, because it is part of their grade for the first year seminar. So it's not just about making sure that you're meeting with your mentees, it's also about their grade. This affects something that goes into their GPA. So we have prompts. Tracy's talked earlier about how, you know, there's going to be general topics we want you guys to cover. So on the meeting feedback form, if you pull it up right before meeting with the student, you can go through it. So like the prompt for this one, you know, what aspects of high school did you find most challenging, and what ways might these same areas continue to provide challenges for you during college? How might we work together? So this is just a prompt. These are things that you can potentially take into the meeting. You may not have, or you probably won't have time to go over all of them, or maybe you will. And then your last name, your first name, their last name, their first name, date, time, duration of the meeting, you know, what did you guys talk about, if you have any concerns, and you know, when you scheduled to meet again, if you did not.
Here's context. I added those last two
I was gonna
pieces
say that's
because some of the sections, well, okay, you will not have an Apex meeting during this first half week of classes that starts this Wednesday, okay? But it's during that time between Wednesday and Friday at midnight that those students need to schedule their meeting with you to start sometime and happen between the 12th and the 25th, okay? So what is on the suggested information for faculty to communicate in their syllabi is that students need to schedule the date and time for that first meeting, and then the students need to reply to your intro email. So that information has been communicated to them, and so what we want is for you to let us know, did they schedule with you before Friday at midnight? Are you missing anybody? And did they reply to your email? Simple email, it asks them a couple of questions, but it just allows them to connect with you. So this form is different because it has those two questions on it. The other forms don't have those.
The other form will end here. And so we'll ask, there's a secondary page that will ask if you have concerns for the student. If you do, what are they? There's one for each meeting, and they are on the Google site right here. So you can see meeting 1 through 6, and then we just have additional meeting if in any case that happened. So there you go. I do want to put something out right now as we're talking. If you have a conversation or see an email or a text or get a call, voicemail from one of your students, and you feel that they are in imminent danger to hurting themselves or someone else, call 911, and after that, call campus safety. So that's the university protocol and that sort of case. So if they're talking about hurting themselves or hurting someone else, and you really are fearful that that is going to happen, don't be silent. Even if it's better to be safe than sorry. We don't want any tragedies happening ever at this university. So call 911 and then call campus safety if it's like I am going to do this to myself sort of thing. So I wanted to bring that up. Also, if your mentee is struggling with things and they seem like they're depressed and you don't feel comfortable, approaching that topic with them, you can put that in your feedback form. But if you do feel comfortable and they seem to be struggling emotionally, and you yourself or you just know people who have used the University Counseling Center, tell them about that experience. Tell them why it's great. Walk them over there. I myself have received counseling from UCC. I've done group and I've done individual. And it's probably been one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. It's free. Counseling is expensive. If you have someone who's struggling, walk them over there. Walk them through that. If you yourself are struggling, I encourage you guys to do that. As one of my professors said, healthy people go to counseling. I want to be healthy. I don't know about you. So that's just my little tidbit in there.
So I wanted to just ask if we can take a look on each of these and take a look at the prompts. These prompts for the conversations are ways that we can try to support the faculty who are teaching their first year seminar sections. They'll be focusing a lot on their special topics in the class meetings. And so that third class meeting, the flipped meeting where you're not in the classroom that day, that is the time for some of these conversations about momentum. Okay, some of the classes will include momentum content more in what they talk about. Some may not reference it much at all. And so I want us to look at the prompts on this, and these are not, within 30 minutes you may not get through all of these, but chances are you might be able to, because some of them are pretty quick. So they can be a 2 or 3 minute discussion just so that you've had that kind of talk with them. So I wanted to make sure that before you have your first meeting, that you really familiarize yourself with these prompts. Because even though this isn't a scripted conversation, it's a guided conversation to make sure that certain content gets covered with all of our incoming freshmen in some way. And each of you will do it differently, but we would really like for you to take a look at these before your meeting for each of the 6 meetings.
Yes.
When will we know when our class times are?
Tomorrow afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah. If you've had any schedule changes since you gave us your guys' schedule, please talk to Tracy right after we're done.
Okay.
Also, so we'll go through all the meeting feedback forms. If your mentee comes to you and say, so meeting 2, we're supposed to be addressing goals. That's the momentum content and whatnot. If your mentee comes to you and they're very distressed about a grade that they have gotten on a paper, don't be like, oh no, I can't talk about that with you. I need to cover goals with you today. Don't ignore the needs of your mentee in that moment, your student in that moment. Be like, okay, let's talk about, why didn't you do well on this paper? Have you gone to the writing center yet? Let me walk you over there. Let me tell you about the writing studio. Address that problem first, and then if there's time, maybe go into some of the prompts. We also have, so how I showed you the time management thing on there? There's going to be a document with the SMART goals and a template for writing goals. By the end of this week, there are going to be resources on there. So if what the meeting is supposed to cover is not covered, you could email that PDF to your mentee or print it out for them. If there's some other matter that is more pressing. I do not want any of you, and I think I can speak for Tracy in this too, to ignore pressing matter just because we've given you a prompt. the student's needs in that time, in that day, in that moment are much more important than the prompt that we have put up. So keep that in mind. Was there a question? Did someone say No? Okay. All right. So we'll go to meeting 3. So meeting 3, academic challenges, are you engaged, taking notes effectively, study habits, so that's a lot of the time management and study habits component that we went over today. Yeah. And then meeting 4. So these sorts of questions, what does momentum text say about curiosity and asking questions, applying your strengths, and so Keith Hall will be coming in tomorrow and doing some strengths development with us, and so, think about tomorrow, and I'm sure that this will come up, but like how, or even tonight if you want to, like, how do I use my strengths in my courses and my academics, and how would I help my mentee do that as well? Those topics, maybe 2 more. So what we just talked about, positive perspective, self-regulation, keeping yourself accountable, giving yourself grace, and whatnot. And then the last one, and the prompt in this one, we'll be talking about more in depth tomorrow, and it has to do reflections on learning, and it's specific to assignment they'll actually have to do in the course. So you can go through this, and we'll be covering like more about what this prompt is addressing in tomorrow's content. Excuse me, it's been a long day. All right, so lastly, return to full screen. In November, we will be doing evaluations. So students will evaluate the Apex mentors, and that will be done in a assessment they'll actually be taking of the entire course. Faculty will evaluate you guys, what you did well, what maybe our program could improve upon, and then you guys will also evaluate the faculty, and I'm considering having you guys evaluate yourselves, how effective of a mentor you are. These actual assessments are still under development, so we'll be communicating that with you later in the fall. And that is it for today, guys.